very much. Let's move now to Jules Razak, to whom I'm going to ask openly, from your experience, how can visions of the future of higher education be applied in practice? Because that's I think, is the most important, at the end of the day, the most important issue, in practice.
Right, that's a tough one, but let me give it a try. Let me start with what Professor PC was saying. I think, what is it that we want? From my point of view, if we talk about the future, we want better human beings. That, I think, is the question. This morning, we talked about how do you make education human-centric rather than technological-centric or economic-centric. The person that we want to change is a human being, a better human person. In our case, we call it humanizing education. In other words, how do you train people to be better human beings in trying to manage their world and also the world outside? So we talk about education in that particular context as a holistic education. Many a times we talk about transdisciplinary, inclusiveness, integration. This to me is about how do you create a total human person. And I agree with you in the sense that when we talk about education today, it is totally fragmented. And more often than not, it is about an economic drive. Hence, you have the word human capital, for example. Human capital do not necessarily mean a good human being. And we want to go back to this whole idea, who is this human being? And I think it's already being spelled in many of the UNESCO sort of document. I remember the 4 pillars of learning. We have what learning to be. Learning to be is about creating that human person. In fact, the word that's used in human to be is to create a complete human person. And we are very far from creating this complete human person. So this trying to attempt to make this work is to go back. And once you get this complete human person, then it is possible to envisage a complete institution using the holistic sort of approach. The approach must be holistic in the sense that it cannot be compartmentalized. Many a times, I think when you want to make change, we do it piecemeal. And oftentimes it doesn't work because we cannot connect it together. And the approach that we took, or we want to take at least, is to look at the whole institution approach. And the whole institution approach will have to depend on the whole person approach. And this is where I think your SDG comes in, when you try to connect the dots. The 14 dots, the 17 dots, it could be more than 17 dots. We discover this as we go along. For example, in our case, we're thinking of where is spirituality in this? We're beginning to envisage and reimagine the SDG 18 to talk about spirituality, because that's the binding sort of glue between us human beings. Everything else fails, spirituality will probably bind us together. So these are issues that I think will bring back to what education is all about. Once we are able to move the institution in a holistic manner, then we can envisage and see whether we can also move the society in a holistic manner. And hence we have the integration between society and university as a whole, no longer two separate things. The university goes on its way, the community goes on its way, and when the pandemic comes, you find this thing gets disrupted very easily.
And what is the role that education has to play? Look, surprisingly, we are on time, roughly, so, surprisingly. So I was wondering if any of the 3 panelists would like to add something else while we prepare for opening the discussion to the audience, both the virtual audience and the participants in the room. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jules?
Yeah, I wanted to follow from what you're saying. I think when we look at sustainable development, I'm critical in the definition of sustainable development that talks about the present and the future and does not take the past into account. I think we need to revisit that definition, because so much of what we are discussing today is about the past. We were sustainable at one point. And this is where we need to go back to the past. And if you go to the history of many of these indigenous society that we've now become, very attracted to, they're more sustainable than we are. And in places like Bali, for example, in Indonesia, sustainable development has been practiced for more than 900 years. It is not new. It is not something that comes out of 1987. And this word then become bandied around. It has been there for a long time. And this is where I think the whole idea of sustainable development associated with the past, a way of life, a way of living, the balance that we talked about. These are something that we've been practicing for a long time that we have forgotten. And until we go back to the past and understand what the human being used to be in the past, then we go on grappling into something which is really very difficult, especially when you have technology now. Technology seems to be, quote unquote, the panacea of the future, which I doubt. So until and unless you can humanize technology at the same time, and that's another ball game altogether. So understanding the past will help us to actually realign what the future looks like. And this is where I think the new education, as far as sustainable development, ought to take into account.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If this is very short, then I'll allow you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Point taken. And Jules?
Okay, my take is very, very simple. I think I want to continue from what you may have left. I think it's time to remodel what the university is all about. In 2005, when the United Nations were considering about sustainable development, the question that was asked to us, will the conventional university as we have today support sustainable development? Most of us will say no. And then we create another model called the Regional Centers of Expertise for Sustainable Development that works with the community. Yeah. It is community-based. It is research based on community. It is about community well-being. And the university and the community is one. There's no separation. There's no gates. There's no two different entities. We share, we co-create knowledge, and so on and so forth. Now that one center in 2005 has grown to about 200 centers around the world. And we think this is a remodeling of the university. And unless and until we think of a new model, then we will be stuck with the old model, because the industrial push for this conventional university to stay is very, very strong. I support what Terry is saying. So there must be an alternative before we can even move into something which is new. Remodeling is what I hope UNESCO will support us this. And I've got a brochure here that talks about what a new university would look like. And we hope all these elements that we talked today will be part of the main ingredient of what needs new university for the new future will look like. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dul. I'm sorry, I got out.